Welcome to another exciting and elucidating episode of the Omni Talk Ask an Expert series. I'm your host, Chris Walton.
And I'm Mezzenga.
And we're the founders of Omni Talk, the fast-growing retail media company that is all about the companies, the technologies, and the people that are coming together to shape the future of retail. Or as we like to say, the media outlet that focuses on tomorrow's companies today. Joining us to share his one-of-a-kind inside baseball, as my friend Stefan Meyer used to say, Anne, who I know you know well.
Yes.
Is Eduardo Cruz, the director of Meta Store's global operations. And Eduardo is here to give us an inside take on Meta's first ever physical store. Eduardo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Super excited for you guys to have me here. Thank you so much. Super excited to connect and also share a little bit about this cool moment that we're experiencing at Meta.
Yeah, we're super excited about this. I mean, I don't think I've been as excited about anything that we've done in a long time, but you're calling from Rio de Janeiro right now too. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm actually starting PTO tomorrow. I'm here for another wedding. It feels like this year is the year of weddings. My wife and I are like on the 6th wedding. All of our friends are in marriage season. And also taking advantage of global travel days that Meta gives us. So I can work 20 days out of the year in a different country. So I'm actually working from my actual home where I grew up.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's awesome. I remember that age, Anne. Do you remember that age? The wedding season age? I'm a little beyond that now.
I do.
Salad days of the wedding season age.
Yeah. So much money, like you think about your first house that you're buying or like some other or travel or whatever. And it's like, I spent how many thousands of dollars on traveling to weddings and bachelorette parties and gifts and
that gets you guys more than it does us probably too in a lot of ways. But all right, well, before we get started and get really into our discussion with Eduardo, just a quick reminder for those watching the early release of this interview live with us right now on LinkedIn. Feel free to ask your questions of Eduardo at any time via the chat session window on the right-hand side of your screen. And
yes, let's get started. Eduardo, I can't wait to hear about this. I'd love for you to just start by kind of walking us through the store as somebody who has never seen it. Just kind of tell us like how it's set up, how it's organized. Like, what does it feel like walking into the store for the first time?
Yeah, so I'll start with just telling you a little bit about our campus, right, and where the store is located. So we're just south of the San Francisco airport and a very unique campus of ours because it's open to the public. And this is where you actually get to walk into our store. Our store is about 1,500 square feet and it's super high powered. And one of the things about the store that is so unique is that although you can actually have 20 people at a time, the store is totally untethered. So when you think about like the things that you can touch, feel, and experience, it's super special. So as you walk in, there's 2 ways of experiencing the experiences, right? You can come up and have the experiences that I'll take you through what those experiences of our hardware products look like. But you can also use our messaging bot through our Facebook page, and you can schedule your visit and your demos previously. So you can actually, we are actually servicing both consumers, the one that can plan and the one that has just try to go to the store. Right. So as you walk into the store, the main focus that you're going to have is around our Quest device, and that's our VR device. And that's going to be showcased in the back of the store with the mixed reality capture screen. This curved LED screen is unique and only to us, and you are actually immersed in the game. So as you're in headset, you can actually we showcase yourself inside the game.
Oh,
and
really?
It's pretty cool that like you can
on this
actually
giant screen.
Wow, that's cool. I've always wanted to see that actually. That's cool. That's how you guys set this up. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and then it's like a stadium effect. So one of the things that when we did this is we weren't expecting so many consumers to drive to the screen, and they're actually interacting as you're immersed and seeing what's happening in the game. As you're done with your experience, you get a digital takeaway, and that is something that you can actually post on your social media. And it's been super special to everybody that is actually experiencing VR.
So are people like, look out, watch out for that thing coming at you? Or like, I mean, how does the audience get into it? Like, is it that kind of thing that's happening?
Chris, that's a really good question. I think the competition on Beat Saber gets really, really daunting. And there's like, as people come in and like we have teams or just overall the general public are coming in, they're looking at beating scores. And it's pretty amazing to see people playing on Expert Plus and how fast those cubes are coming at you.
Got it. So is that the main draw of the store then the Quest, like that specific area, or is there what else is going on?
There's more that's going on. So we have our Ray-Ban stories, and this is the initial phases where you can actually like when two big brands work together, and then you have our Facebook and Ray-Ban actually partnering on an iconic frame. And this is the frame that you can actually listen to music, you can listen to podcasts, you can actually listen to us through it, you can take pictures, and you can actually be more immersed in your experience, and you don't need to hold your phone. So as you are walking through your day, you can ask to take a picture or you can ask to film, and those films are up to a minute long. So it's pretty cool. And when we started the store, we only had 4 of those demos, and now we're up to 12. And it's been taking some surprisingly how people have seen the benefits of actually this device. But I want to make sure that I don't stop there, because we also have our Portal demo booth, and Portal is where you can actually connect to families. And this is how I keep close to my family here in Brazil, is that you have a Portal setup where you actually can interact with an associate that's at the back and see all the future on our Portal hardware.
And how do you do that? Like, what's the station setup like in that to do? Is it sitting down? Is it like a big screen? How did you kind of create that moment?
No, that's a really good question. It's a Portal demo booth, so it's the feel of your living room, and in the back there's somebody that's more kind of like in that kitchen feel. You can do this experience standing up or sitting down, and you can actually have more than one people. The cool thing about Portal is that the camera moves with you, and it also adapts to how many people are in the screen.
Got it. And when did the store open, Eduardo? Set the stage for us there too. Like for us, it feels like yesterday, but I know it probably wasn't. It probably doesn't feel like that to you, I'm guessing. But when did it open?
Yeah, I can remember that day now. I don't think that's kind of like one of those things that you'd never forget. May 9th,
like the birth of your child, probably, right? Yeah.
Yes.
May 9th. Okay.
Yes,
okay. So if
May
I do
9th.
my math, we're like literally yeah, I can't do my math. 3 months, right?
Yes.
3 months. That's good. I'm getting better, Ann. Getting better.
Yes. Eduardo, I'm curious what the reception has been so far, and then kind of what Meta has done to kind of pivot from some of the things that you've all learned from just interactions with customers. Because I have to imagine it's runs the gamut. It's all kinds of reactions.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Ann. And I think we've learned a lot. Like we were not experiencing the foot traffic that we actually have received. And I think one of the things that we opened, this store is highly powered in terms of technology. And when we opened, we were only opening Monday through Friday, and we were going to open on the weekends at a later date. And we have anticipated that date. And since the July 4th weekend, we've been able to start opening weekends and actually seen some really good, a good response from our consumers. And the learnings are vast. And I think the number one learning is just like how people have never experienced VR. And as they're actually immersed, they're seeing how easy it is and what are the functionalities. Many of the functionalities are really close to game as the public's perceptions, but you also have different ways of connecting through VR. This is through Horizon Worlds, or even through workrooms, where we could actually be doing this as avatars, and it would be pretty interesting that as you turn your head right or left, you can actually experience that. And if I'm just going to lean into the right and say something in somebody's ears, not necessarily the entire room is going to hear. Wow. And that's pretty cool to experience.
So you're demoing all those different aspects that you can do with the hardware. I was curious about that too. Like that is a key piece of this, because I think for having owned a Quest, I think that is one of the more challenging things for me, is like getting from gaming into those other use cases. Like, how do you see people kind of adapt to that as they're, demoing this in store?
That's a very good question. And I just want to make sure that I correct you on one thing, Chris, is that we're not experiencing workrooms yet. This is something that we're looking to launch in the future.
Okay.
And this is where we've learned that there's more abilities for us to actually continue to evolve that. And I think as you'll see that the store will continue to evolve, and this is our main work. And that's what's so super important to be in campus. You have the lead technology thinkers of our company in the campus, and it's like timeline feedback, and we can actually come and evolve our experiences there. And that's what we're thinking to launching in the next few months.
Got it. So I'm onto something, like, and you guys are on it too, to try to make sure that is working for everybody. That's cool. Well, I got to pull it back too. Like, why do this? I think that's, that was the question I think on a lot of minds, especially the retail pundits' minds. Thanks for all the pundits out there that are watching too, ourselves included. But like, why do this? Like, why Meta open a store? Like, what was the intention? What was the goal, and how are you guys thinking about it here, now, future, all those types of things?
So let me parse out that question. That's a great question. Thinking about like what's the future, we're really focused on the Meta store in Burlingame.
Okay.
And the idea is that we continue to experience and evolve our experiences through that store, right? The second part is that you asked me is like, why did we do this? I think this is super important that as we moved into Meta, this was a way for us to actually house all of our brands underneath one umbrella, and also learn from our experience and direct to our consumers to inform not only through our DTC strategy, but also through the other strategies that we have. We still have a big presence in the wholesale market, and that also helps us actually have as a learning lab in our organization.
Got it. And so those brands, by brands, you mean the Portal, the Quest, the Ray-Ban partnership that you guys have. That's specifically what you're saying. Got it.
Yeah. And Chris, if you go to meta.com, you see the shop tab, and you can shop there through all of our products.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah. So really it was the kind of what we're all about is like the omni-channel conception of the Meta brand. And it sounds like, for lack of a better word, I don't want to put words in your mouth too, but it sounds like the purpose of this really is educational. Like, it's really to provide that educational experience on what those brands are, how they work in a tangible physical environment. Is that right? Am I overemphasizing that?
No, you're right. And also a glimpse into the metaverse, right? This will be the entry point as we move into the metaverse. And as we continue to evolve, I think if you think about the age that we're going to be in, we're like on the metaverse, we're still in initial phase, and it's so hard to draw that map until 10 years. This is a great way for you to start building that narrative.
Eduardo, when you're thinking about like the evolution of the store itself to like the physical footprint of Meta, how do you see that kind of evolving? I mean, is it going to be, is it called a store? Like, do you consider this more of a learning lab, or like, what does that look like, feel like? What is it called as you kind of think about the future of the Meta store?
So, and that's a very good question. And my response to you is going to be like, we are really focused on the Meta store at Burlingame, and the future is something that like we are still going to learn from there until we can inform that future.
Yeah, got it. So it's still very much in the discovery stage, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious too, as a former store manager of many Target stores back in my day, I'm curious, like, an opening one, like you said, it's like the birth of your child for the most part, that you'll always remember. What was something that surprised you, or you were like, oh, aha, I wish I had thought of that before, we opened live? Was there anything that, you guys were like, oh, wow, this is a pleasant surprise. We didn't think about this way, and now we're seeing it happen?
The power of surprise is like how much technology we had in the store.
Yeah.
And actually to have all that technology come together for the May 9th opening was a daunting task, that it wasn't just me and my team. We worked with over 500 XFNs, and XFNs are cross-functional partners.
Okay.
And until the day of the Sunday night of the opening, just to calibrate screens, ensure the experience was flawless. I think it's just this, like, coming from my background of like pretty much Nike and shoes, and landing in a tech company, it was really interesting to see how people come together, and how it was super important that if we were opening this store at a flagship location, it would have never happened at the timelines that we had, just because of the complexities. We're in campus. It's super special to have the team of really intelligent and hardworking coworkers that are helping us draw this dream.
Yeah, I mean, that's a daunting task, man. Like, I got to give you kudos for that, because you're right. Like, it's very different than making sure that like physical products are where they need to be, and the store is staffed and trained and whatnot. You've got to get tech really coordinated and fluid within the setup of that operation. And not only that, but it's got to consistently work time and time again. yeah, I mean, from your background in Nike, I'm curious. That's got to be really different. I'm glad I asked this question because this gave me kind of excited. What are some tips of the trade? Because I think all retail is going to be dealing with this topic as technology just becomes more pervasive. What are some of the tips of the trade that you could maybe espouse on others that help you get through that, or that you found that you used that were successful?
Yeah, that's like how do I dissect that question and kind of like ensure that I hit all the points, because like my mind just blows when you
Yeah, I
ask
bet
that
it
question.
does. It's like, where do you start, right? Yeah.
I think the first part was around like, hey, how do we approach our consumers, right? And
Okay.
when you're talking about new technology that is just not very like mainstream, it was around really ensuring that we worked and trained our team to actually be super approachable, super humble, and really like use the language of like, you don't know who you're talking to. You need
Mhm.
to be extremely humble, and you need to
Right.
extremely patient as you're taking to, because not necessarily everybody's coming from the same approach as you.
You can't
I
be the
think
know-it-all tech support guy,
Right.
right? Like that
y-
stereotype, right? Yeah.
yes, and when you look at us as Meta, we also have a family of apps, right? And those are super important at consumers' day-to-day life, and ensuring that our employees were cross-trained and not diminishing the value of the family of apps in our organization, and also the curiosity of consumers coming into our store. So I think the amount of training and the amount of time that we had to spend in those areas was something that
Hmm.
normally, when you're talking about shoes, clothing, you're just more about the benefits and the questions, but this is people's daily lives that are being orchestrated into all of these.
I can ask one follow-up too, and I just want to, because I think it's important right now, is like, what are your opening and closing routines as a store manager like relative to when you were working Nike and other stores? Like, because I got to imagine the opening and closing around tech is very different than, products and people again. So like, have those changed at all? And have you had to adapt them at all?
They're pretty similar in terms of like opening and closing. Don't want to be too tactical here, but like how you close a
Ah,
cash register is going to be super equal to everybody.
yeah,
I
right.
Hmm.
think the important function is just around servers and the things that we have to power the store. You have to be much more careful because these are curated experiences, and you can't just shut everything down, and you have to be super diligent on those closing procedures and ensuring that all our tech are flawlessly executing every day and ready to operate. And then the speed of support is something that we also need to ensure that is aligned, because when you break some of these things, you have to be back online really
Mhm.
quick. And this is something that we had to really work through diligently through the opening and closing process.
That's cool.
Eduardo, one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important about the the continued development of this Meta store is that you have this store on the Meta campus. Like it's accessible to the teams who helped build and create and open the store, and they have the ability to come down to this, come down to the store, see how customers are interacting with this first store, and then kind of use that as information to take into thinking about the evolution of that store. What value did you see in being able to have teams on site and kind of able to have that experience, because it doesn't happen often?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's like you mentioned, it's really valuable to have it on campus. Like in my career, not many times that you have a campus store, or when the campus store is more of like an employee store. This is
Mhm.
actually a store that like we're we are servicing all consumers and all guests, and
Right.
it's been super special to actually be close, be able to learn time live and actually use the teams that are there, right? I think one of the things that you can't undervalue is that when you're in a tech org, you have very complex teams that have to
Mhm.
help you on portions of a total experience. And being at campus was immense. It was super special to actually have those teams come to the store, right? Like
Right.
in any other case, you have to fly them. And when you're talking about opening retail tight timelines, that was something that we definitely had some positive around that. And one thing that I don't want to make sure that I don't forget, and is that this project was worked through the COVID pandemic, right? And one of the
Right.
things is like a lot of the teams didn't get to know themselves until we actually were closer to the opening. Because if
Right.
you think about it, like, and how to actually come up with this project. It was definitely super important that it was a campus, but also the tenacity and the spirits of collaboration from the teams, because there was a lot of people involved.
So Eduardo, I'm curious, for like a concept store effort like this, like you and Ann just described, like, is that something you'd espouse or advise other retailers to do? Like, I'm thinking like Gap has their new stores that they're opening in the basement of their headquarters in San Francisco, not too far from you guys, quite honestly. It's work that we have a background in at Target, and something we believe strongly in. Would you be willing to say like, yes, I would agree with that? Like, this is a good approach for doing explorative type work?
I do agree, and that is my personal perception of like, hey, when you have these opportunities to actually have stores in campus or concept stores in your organization, it's super special because you get to test many things and build a better product to deliver to your consumers.
Yeah, it's one of those like almost no brainers, I think, at this point. Like, I feel like why wouldn't you do this? And yet we don't see it very often. Like, I can count on like 5 hands the number of retailers that have a campus store that's open to the public where they're learning from it in this manner.
Yeah. Eduardo, do you feel like there's some kind of connection then that's made with the brand too that might not happen, with a store that's not connected in this way? Did people who are coming in, are they feeling like there's an openness to like peek inside what Meta's doing, or where you're kind of thinking, how you're thinking about bringing Meta into the physical space and then into the metaverse?
Yeah, I think that there were many articles and written through the opening of the store that was really positive around the experience, and then just learning about it and how as a meta store concept we broke many barriers. So I definitely think that it makes us more approachable as a brand.
I'm curious too, did you think it gives you the fact that you're on campus, did you think it gives you more license to try to be creative with customers as well, like to try to show them new things? Do you think they're more open and receptive to, giving you a little more leash, so to speak, to try to learn what's in the store as well? Is that a part of this, is in addition?
That's a great question, Chris. But we honestly, we did not go through any of those kind of like, hey, are we pushing the boundaries more? I think, hey, like as a team, we were going to push the boundaries if we were at campus or out of campus anyway. And like, we didn't set them like, hey, if we're in campus, we're going to have a lower bar. We're really like putting our best foot forward as we launch any of our our stores.
Got it. And I was actually asking more from the customer perspective that enters the store too. Like, say they have trouble with the tech. Like, are they more forgiving of that in general than say, like, if it was just like your 20th store out in the marketplace, your 100th store out in the marketplace? Like, do you think that phenomenon's real in this type of environment?
I can't really I can't really say. I think that like what I can say is that like the consumer feedback has been like, hey, this is super cool.
Yeah,
this is super approachable. I love your service. Like it's been really like it's been really nice to see how the team has invested time on training and how that has put it back around like, hey, it's been really nice to see how the brand comes to life in a store setting.
Eduardo, what are people walking out the door with?
Yeah.
Great experications, products, because we do sell products.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what she's going for.
That's my question. Like, what can you buy there? And, what does that process look like? Is it, walk us through kind of like the checkout process. If I have this experience and I want to take it home with me.
Yeah, so if you had the experience, you want to take it home with you. When it comes to Quest, you can actually get Quest and a curated assortment of accessories. So the Quest, like, there's more than just the Quest device. There is the accessories, headphones, and any of the things around. You can also get your portal there. And then regarding Ray-Bans, you're now doing Instagram checkout, and then the Ray-Bans get shipped to you. And then the cool thing about Ray-Bans is that you can also get prescription lenses on them, and then you can go directly through the Ray-Ban site and get the prescription lenses on your Ray-Ban stories.
So walk through that with me. Like, I go up to the Ray-Ban counter. I mean, like, I need a prescription. Like, what? I know I see, like, we have the photo of them where they're all like lined up on the wall, like a traditional like Ray-Ban shopping experience. But then what happens?
So the Ray-Ban experience, if you have a prescription, you're going to go straight to the Ray-Ban site and you're going to go through their checkout flow and through their flow. So you're going to have to put your normal information plus your RX, I'm probably saying this wrong, your prescription details into, and I'm not saying wrong. I don't want to talk RX wrong, and maybe I'm saying RX wrong.
We get it. Yeah, you're doing it right from our perspective. We get you.
You're going to go through your prescription, and then that is going to you're going to be able to check out through the Ray-Ban site, and then they'll confirm your order and your details, and that at a later date, the product gets shipped to you.
Okay.
Our associates are going to be there to help you, but want to make sure that I say this, they're not going to get any credit card information. We're not going to run anything through our POS. It's going to be very on the user or on our guest to actually go through that process.
So it's true guide shop. I'm going there to just experience the product, pick out the color of glasses that I want, and then everything from that point on is handled via the Ray-Ban site. Or you said there's Instagram checkout too.
Instagram checkout for the non-prescription, and you're also going to go through the Ray-Ban handle.
Okay.
But for everything else, the Oculus and the portal, you can take that home with you that very day. Traditional kind of checkout experience. Or is there any new twists on the purchasing of those that you guys have in the store? Or is it pretty standard checkout process?
Pretty standard checkout process. You'll be able to also do endless aisle transactions. You'll also be able to do BOPIS and ROPIS. We're still working through details on the engineering side that we should see this month. BOPIS, ROPIS, and endless aisle come to life.
Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, well, I got to get you out of here on this, Ann. What is, because you're in inside baseball, like I said in the beginning, you're like the inside man here. I'm curious, what is your favorite Oculus distraction? Like what when you got the Quest on, what's occupying your time? Is it Beat Saber or what?
So that is a very good question, and I gotta say that there's a couple, not just one.
Awesome. Yeah.
When Resident Evil launched last holiday, I spent definitely through my vacation a lot of time playing Resident Evil. You get spooked, but it's pretty cool.
Wow.
And I think what's been getting me really on is Supernatural. I think it's something that from an exercise perspective, it's pretty cool. And also there's a new tennis VR. I've been putting some work on that, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. You've been doing, so you're playing, do you play with other people, or you play like with an animated opponent? Like, how's that work?
You play with an animated opponent, but it can get pretty serious.
Really? Wow. All right.
Yeah,
you probably get the speed going in that. I bet. Imagine.
What do people in the store play? I mean, I imagine I've done the Supernatural in a hotel room, but I mean, are people doing Supernatural in the front of that giant curved screen?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
In front of the screen. Wow.
So there is Beat Saber, there is Supernatural, there's Golf Plus, and there is real VR fishing. Okay. And the cool part about it is that you can actually do it with motion and standing up, but also you can also have all those experiences seated in a chair.
Right.
Cool.
Man, if you got virtual golf for your husband, I think you'd never see him again.
He would be living at the Meta store with Eduardo. You'd have to employ him.
I didn't know that was an option. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm down on the Supernatural. That's kind of my jam too. But all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for doing this with us today. It was really special to get to sit down with you and get kind of this inside walk through the store in terms of what you can expect if you go out there. And God knows a lot of people in our industry, get out to San Francisco very often. And if they haven't seen it, I'm sure they're chomping at the bit, as are we, to get out there and see everything you just described in real life. So, hey, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about the Meta store in general, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think going through my LinkedIn channel and just direct messaging me, I'm very happy to respond and provide any context, and I'm happy to help.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, man, thanks for doing this again. That wraps us up. Meta's Eduardo Cruz. We appreciate you sitting down with us today. Thanks to all of you that joined us live on LinkedIn and happened to ask any questions. On behalf of Eduardo and Ann and myself, as always, be careful out there.